Well, they're Belle and Sebastian's label mates, and that's not all they have in common. Sulaco with their current single, Growing Up in the Night. Now, Pelvis start their Irish tour tonight. They're playing extensively around Ireland, so keep a lookout in your local press for details. One gig that's definitely worth checking out if you're around the area is their support slot at the Divine Comedy in the Temple Bar Music Centre this Saturday. Now, I met up with Johnny and Eddie a few weeks back in Dublin, the day before Johnny's wedding actually, and we had a chat about what a hectic year it's been for Pelvis. When did Setanta first start showing interest in you?
It was a good while before. It was months before the.
It was a while before the competition. That was May. It was probably like before Christmas.
Because it's funny. September, I mean, people kind of say, you know, first they won the competition and then all of a sudden things took off, and it wasn't like that at all. I mean, it certainly did help us because, you know, obviously we got a lot of recording time and all that kind of thing. So I mean, that's excellent for any young band, you know. But I mean, Setanta were interested in us probably up to 8 months or so before, and they were looking to sign a deal with us, and it just wasn't right. Like, and then, you know, but I mean, we were interested enough mutually to keep pulling each other along, you know. So you know, it all worked out in the end, and you know, even the kind of charm with the likes of Setanta, Keith, and that, you know, is the first time we met him, we really liked him, you know. I don't know what we were thinking of. No, the first time we met him, yeah, he arrived and he's there in his little runners and his jeans, you know, and the fingernails painted, like, and
there was bits
all bitten off, you know, this kind of thing.
Nail varnish, this was called, isn't it? Yeah, red nail varnish. For about an hour and a half from music, what's looking at it, nudging it, what's the story with them, you know, because I expected this kind of, you know, Keith calling the guy and I didn't know what the story is with him. Probably looking, what's the story with the nail varnish? But Johnny plucked up the courage after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and said, look, what's the deal on the fingers, you know? I think he'd fallen drunk the night before and had his fingers painted.
While he was asleep or something,
While he was asleep. We thought he was a cross-dresser or something secretly, you know? We were in 2 minds what to go with this guy or not.
Was it really daunting going in to record the album?
No.
It was very adventurous. Actually, maybe a little bit. It's funny because you kind of spend your whole life wanting to make a record, and then when you're actually finally going to do it, it's I think the idea of whatever as such you're kind of committing to tape is that's going to be the record. Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, give or take maybe an edit or and the way it's going to be mixed or whatever. But that's what you're putting down, and you want to get it across as you know, as true as it should be, like, as you know, the way you kind of hear it in your head, or you know, that kind of way. Sometimes it's really hard to get that across. Yeah. Sometimes yeah, like I'll put on the CD and I'll pick 1,000 holes, and you know, that I'll just go, you know, and then other times I'll put on, that's not bad, you know, that kind of way, and you kind of go, and sometimes you get you know, a buzz off kind of putting it on and hearing it, like, and everything, you know.
Fun, but you send out all the wrong signs as you call the shots. Yeah, you say what's what. I am the super.
It's funny, like about 2 weeks prior to the release of the album, I became very freaked out just on the album. I was telling people, saying, "Oh, it's great," and it's bringing friends and all that. I sat in one night ringing people back up, saying, "Do you really like the album?" You know what I mean? Are you just saying because you know me? I just have this fear or insecurity or that it wasn't right. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, what a position the likes of the Beatles were in when they could go in and they actually worked in Abbey Road. Like, that's where they rehearsed in the studio. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a rehearsal studio, it was a recording studio, and that's where they rehearsed, you know? And everything, like, there was just loads of tapes made and they'd be writing songs every day. And that's the setup that I want, you know?
Do you ever think there'll be another band that will be able to do what the Beatles did in the 60s?
No. It's simply because I kind of always felt that I wanted to be in that band if there was going to be one, you know, because I just think what they did was amazing, like, you know. And it's just like there's so many different interests now. I mean, kids are into like computer games and everything like that, and it's all gone down that road, and music has actually got much smaller.
I love what U2 did. You know, I really admire what they did and the way they crafted their career. Do you know what I mean? Right down to their fashion, the clothes they wore, to the music they make, you know. I really admire that.
Ed wants to be Bono.
I won't say anything.
Yep.
But yeah, and Radiohead. Do you know what I mean? They have such a... Colin Greenwood came to see us actually in London, the bass player. Yeah. We played in Oxford to about like 30 people. So he came down, he was grooving to our music. So we went for a pint afterwards. Nice fella, you know.
In the cool beach breeze and the smell of sun cream, darkened shades, cool lemonade. I'm with my girl, she's on top of the world. We pose for a laugh and move towards the shade, and the sun beats down. Now the rain.
But do you ever think that you'd look back at this at some stage in, you know, 5-6 years' time with your other 2 or 3 albums under your belt and go, oh yeah, that was a nice kick-off for us, you know, who are you today? That was a nice little...
I already feel like that though.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I already do. Because you're always kind of struggling with kind of new songs and all this kind of thing. So as soon as we were actually finished in the studio, before the album was even released, I felt like that, because I just kind of, well, that's actually done, and there's nothing we can do about that now. So that's finished, you know. And now there's all these other songs that have to be written and everything like that, and that's kind of, it's always the push forward. It's always, you know. So, you know, it's, and that's probably what it's, I don't know, but maybe that's what it's like for even like, you know, a great painter or somebody like that, when they've just done a masterpiece or whatever, like, it's done. So you actually, the sense of achievement is in doing it. It's not in looking at it, or, do you know what I mean? Well, obviously it is, but I mean, it's like, you have to move on, and you have to meet the next challenge, you know. You've got to push for a challenge, you know.
And the sun beats down.
I was told 3 weeks ago, okay, you're moving to London. I had my stuff nearly packed. I was told 2 days before.
Yeah, you actually, 2 days before he was leaving, you're not going.
Do you know, so that's the way it is, and you can never make any plan or any definite arrangement.
But it's funny, the longer you're actually in a band, the more you realise the whole, like, how unpredictable it is.
Yeah.
There's just, like, you know, you'd be, you know, one day you'll be kind of on your hunkers going like, that's, you know, will things ever, like, you know, you just feel things aren't going right, and then the next day something can happen and you're like, woohoo, you know. And it's a bit like that. It's actually, being in a band is a bit like being, it's a bit like being judged for the Eurovision, you know, and all the countries are ringing in their points, and you're there like in the next one, you know. It's amazing how much you actually value your free time when you know, you're used to kind of being over. And even like, you know, you'd be in London and you'd be kind of, there'd be some times in London like actually hanging around for days, like, you know what I mean. But it's not the same as actually being at home and hanging around, you know.
But you're not exactly hanging around this week, Johnny.
I'm not exactly hanging around. No.
You're actually getting married this week.
That's right. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good man that you are.
Thanks very much, Ed.
Just fine.
Very pleased to meet you.
Good man that you are. You're a good lad.
Thanks for all your good wishes over the past couple of years now.
How does that fit in with your scheme of things for Pelvis, getting married?
No problem.
Really?
Yeah, no problem at all. I think Pelvis would be an amazing label for clothing. We want to do that. Like, we want to bring out, like, you know, underwear, boxer shorts, Pelvis boxer shorts, and, you know, just all that. Like, you know, I mean, I think we could, like, I think we're kind of fairly creative, and we'd actually get such a hit out of, like, having the opportunity to do something like that, you know.
You shake